What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the FMA Dumpster Fire podcast. On today's episode, we are going to be discussing using non-traditional or non-classical FMA weapons for FMA training, pros, cons. I want to know where you guys stand on the issue. We are going to be deconstructing a Boudoir Training Session video between myself and Sifu Mark Medeiros, who has recently been exploring work on the tonfa and nunchucks. He is somebody who spars a lot. Mostly, I shouldn't say mostly, but he spars a lot in FMA and weapons-based context, among other things. And I think you're really going to enjoy this video. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get the party started. Welcome to FMA Source.
Get the fuck out of bed, bitch. Go.
You're finished. No.
Get up. Never got no. Gotta wake up. Gotta wake up, bitch. Get up.
Oh,
Get up. Get up.
before it launch the counterattack. All right, welcome back, everybody. Welcome to FMA Source. If you love the Filipino martial arts, please make sure to hit that like button. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel. We all love Filipino martial arts, and we all have our different ways of expressing exactly how much we love Filipino martial arts. And let's all begin to appreciate that. Today is going to be one of those things where I think people are going to have their opinions on using non-classical or non-traditional Filipino martial arts weaponry for FMA training. So I'd like to invite the viewers to leave me some comments. What are your thoughts? Should we stay pure? Should we only use indigenous or native Filipino martial arts weapons when training the Filipino martial arts? Or is the very philosophy of Filipino martial arts weapons training, does it open up an entire world of possibilities that's free for us to explore? I'm getting a coffee refill from my daughter Kyra, who's not in school because she's getting over a tummy ache, but she's feeling better. Say hi to everybody.
Hi.
And she loves FMA too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she loves it enough. Anyway, hey guys, I don't schedule these podcasts yet. One day, if I get a producer, maybe I will. So in the meantime, you can do me a favor by hitting that like button. It lets YouTube algorithm know that we are Filipino martial artists here, and will disseminate this information, these videos, to other Filipino martial artists. And hopefully, as a community, we can experience some growth together. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel FMA Source on YouTube, and make sure to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out whenever I do another one of these random ones. We have our first comment here from Sirat Al Saif. Improvise and evolve. Amen to that. Now I'm not sure if this is a PTTA thing, but certainly I heard it from Tuhon Jared first. I'm pretty sure that this was a quote or a paraphrase from Grand Tuhon Leo Gahe, that the art of Pikiti Tertia is the art of the living past in modern times. And I am sure that there are many other Filipino martial arts systems that embody or exemplify this very philosophy, that while the Filipino martial arts is ancient, we should strive to make it relevant for modern day application. And I personally believe that the art itself facilitates, if not commands, growth, progress, evolution, and relevance across time. So with that, I want to share a video that I did with Sifu Mark Medeiros. We're going to be covering the tonfa. We're going to be covering nunchucks. At the very end of this video, it's a 12-minute video, but I'm going to talk through it. I'm going to pause frequently. Towards the end of the video, he's going to show us a knife flow. Now, keep in mind, this is in development, and this is actually the very first time that I've actually trained this knife flow, and this knife flow incorporates fundamental strikes from boxing. It includes trapping principles that exist in Filipino martial arts, but through him come through a Jeet Kune Do framework. And within that same knife flow, we're going to be working on knife deployment. Now, it could be any knife deployment. At first, I worked a knife deployment off a fixed blade and a concealed appendix carry. And then later on, I'm going to do a pocket carry for folding knives, where we're going to discuss really the differences. And the differences are massive. So for any of you concealed weapons carriers for defensive purposes, we're not talking about guns, we're talking about knives here. It's definitely something worth looking at. But first and foremost, let me introduce the boudoir to you guys. What is the boudoir? What's the boudoir all about? What are its philosophies? Already the video is starting to play here. Basically, you guys, the boudoir is a group of guys and gals, mostly guys, mostly dads, actually. You know, we're family men. We have jobs, we have responsibilities and bills to pay, but we refuse to grow up in a sense that we never stop exploring, experimenting, and essentially playing. Playing is a really important part of the Filipino martial arts. I just realized I still have my balut background there. If you guys missed the top of the show, just balut in the house. In the house. But anyway, you know, I can't do this. I can't do this with the balut in the background. I'm going to switch it up to LA. Pikiti Toshakali, Peru. Katipunan. Hello, brother. Cheers from Peru. Cheers to you, sir. Cheers to you, Max Wang. Max Wang. I wish I had that name. I mean, that's a pretty dope name, bro. It pretty much means Max Wang. I love it. Welcome to the show. All right, so let's watch this video a little bit. What the heck is going on? Why am I wearing a helmet? Why am I No way, Max. That is your legal name. That is friggin' amazing. What's better than Max Wang? Maybe if your legal name was Optimus Prime, then you got Max Wang beat. But dope name, brother. Dope. That's really awesome, actually. All right, can we get back, Mr. Wang? Can we get back to the show? Why the heck am I wearing my Spartan gear headgear with 5'11" tactical shorts and full armor and youth hockey gloves? And why am I facing this thug-looking dude with tonfas? Well, because like I said, we experiment at the boudoir. So let's have a look, man. Let's have a look. By the way, this is not a politically correct show, so if you're looking to get me canceled, you can go ahead. That's fine. But and the reason I mentioned that was because, I love my LGBTQ homies and homettes there. But what I wanted to say was I thought tonfas were pretty gay. I'm like, why the hell would anyone use tonfas? But then I had my mind changed. Okay, I had my mind changed. Not because I'm gonna carry. I just heard a beep. Did you guys hear that? Anyway, I like tonfas not because I'm gonna carry them for self-defense or anything, but I think, and we'll get to this. Yeah, and the video will allude to this. I think it's a great training methodology to incorporate to make your stick fighting better. And I love clashing sticks with other boys, you guys. I just love it. Anyway, so Sifu Mark Medeiros brought these tonfas over, and I was just like, he was showing me some things. I'm like, wait a minute, let's see if we can figure this out, homie. So we conducted a bunch of tests, a bunch of experiments, and here's the first of them. What are you guys seeing, huh? He's doing pretty good with those tonfas, right? Look at that. All right, so before we continue to double stick versus tonfa, one of the things that I learned with knife versus tonfa, by the way, I'm just going to play this in the background so that you guys can review it while I talk about what I found. Let's get rid of that stick, Rubio. There we go. We're back to knife. It was really difficult to read his range. It was very, very difficult. Mind you, I was just feeding. I wasn't being, super duper offensive, but I was throwing some feeds in there because he's doing some really complicated, elaborate things with this tonfa. Much better than I actually anticipated he would be able to do. I don't know why. Probably because it's a projection of my own deficiency. I can't spin that thing in the way that he can. As you can see, he's sticking a lot with just some, fundamental boxing and striking. Just good defenses. But the thing that's very difficult to read is he really corrupted my perception of range. He threw some Superman thrusts in there, and it's just very difficult to read because while I'm accustomed to having Superman punches thrown at me, the speed at which that weapon tip connects with your face is way faster, way faster than anything I've ever experienced. Because again, it still feels like it's connected to his hand. And because he can navigate the orientation of that, I don't know if you guys can see my arrow, but I'm pointing at his tonfa. He can navigate the orientation of that tonfa between what essentially, I'll call it a puño, which is really the opposite. Anyway, there's a long and short end. Makes it very difficult to read. So again, Sifu Mark has good boxing experience. He's got good Muay Thai experience. Like he is sparring partners with, amateur and regional champions. And so he's able to use it in this way, and he's able to begin to bridge the sophistication and complication of using a tonfa in more fanciful ways because he's got a good foundation in striking, and he's able to use it fundamentally and simply in that regard. All right, let's move on. We're going to move on to the double stick element of this. Oh my. What are you guys seeing?
Yeah, that's my key. It's those first motions. Yeah. I don't have to give this up right away and get hit. It's that, and then I'm hitting.
Beautiful.
And then I'm loading this up.
Okay, so with regards to defending Sinawali with tonfas, it's difficult. It's very, very difficult. And again, I was only throwing feeds here. We weren't going at an extremely high rate of speed or anything. But Sinawali can be problematic for tonfa because of the nature of the weave. And you can have attacks from all hemispheres, highs and lows. And in order to be able to defend appropriately and at speed with tonfa, the defender is going to be moving a lot more than the attacker. And so it's imperative that if you're going to use the tonfa to immediately or as soon as possible switch from a defensive to an offensive mindset, mentality, and aggression. It is, and the reason why I noted that the training in the tonfa can help in stick fighting primarily relates to your ability to defend against sticks with tonfas because you are having to navigate through the hallmark of FMA, which is trajectory changes with our weapons, right? I mean, angle 1s and 2s are fine, but how we change the trajectory of an angle 1 to make it a reverse angle 1 or an angle 2 to make it a reverse angle 2. And that's really one of the hallmarks of Filipino martial arts. Of course, there are direct strikes and it has tremendous value, but at more sophisticated levels of study, I find that it is in these trajectory changes that you really find a lot of the cool moments that manifest in sparring. So in using a limited range weapon that is so close to you, right? Forearm, really account their shields. It helps you develop your reads of where that stick is going, if nothing else by virtue that the pain penalty is going to be very heavy if you F it up. All right. So Sinawali versus Tonfa. Sinawali is frigging hard to defend. And later in the video, I begin to discuss with Sifu Mark some catch-all defensive structures using the Tonfa, so that we're not trying to chase floretes and redondos. Okay. These defenses aren't going to be perfect. They're going to have vulnerabilities, but for oh shit moments, they're good enough. All right. So let's move forward with this. Again, this is that double stick versus Tonfa. You can see how much he's having to shift his body, and you can tell that like at this point, this is the conversation that's happening right now. You got to get in there. You got to get in there really, really quick. All right, here we go. Look at that level change. Boom. Hope you guys are enjoying this, by the way. Make sure to hit that thumbs up.
There you go.
All right, so let's read that. That is double stick versus Tonfa strategies against the power loaded angle one. So basically, if douchebag is just tapping away at you in largo range or in medio range, but he's got his angle one loaded for power. All right, what are you going to do if you have Tonfas? And again, Tonfas could be empty hand, right? But what are some sound strategies? What are some sound strategies to deal with? So the power loaded angle one, we can see that as, you know, the overhand right or that really powerful cross while dude is just jabbing you. He's just jabbing you, and then he's power loading that that angle one. So what can we do against that? Well, let's see.
Oh! Jabbing at you, jabbing at you, jabbing at you.
Well, what do you think, man? I'm jabbing. You know this is coming.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Can you have a forward motion where that is defending the angle one as you
I went
crash?
step through.
Yeah, I think that would be better for you instead of waiting for the angle one. Freedom. Yeah. Yeah. Especially once you start coming in, it's going to trigger my. Yeah. As soon as you move forward, man, you kind of freeze this. Yeah, I think if anyone's just like being a dickhead and he's jabbing you, yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This is the nature of this. I need to pull the distance. Why the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay where you have room.
I mean, don't let him pull the trigger on this big one, because then you might be.
Well, I'm gonna double up. I have to cause.
All right, so there we go. The discovery there, I mean, it may seem blatantly obvious to everybody, is that when somebody's just dabbing you away with that stick and they're threatening with that power loaded angle one, you can't stay in that game for very long. Sifu Mark Medeiros was like, yeah, he needs to step through, not just step forward, in order to mitigate that heavy angle one from being triggered. But here's the thing. From my experience, once he puts forward violent, aggressive action towards me, it actually has a potential to freeze the trigger for my angle one and elicit a tactical retreat moving backwards. And if he's moving forward with aggression, then he's able to do something. You can, guys. This is no different than the tactics that one might employ for a self-defense condition or even a combat sport fighting environment where, you know, this is arguable depending on how you interpret it, but defense don't win fights. You know, you have to flip the switch, flip the script, and go to offensive at some point. The longer you stay in that defensive mode, the worse it's going to be for you. Hey, let's address some of these comments. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and read this. What's up with this? Xander, what have you written? Training with non-traditional weapons will teach you how those weapons work. Even if you don't improve anything because of it, you will understand potential opponents better if they use a non-traditional weapon. If you want to see a great example that was posted on YouTube recently, I highly recommend the sparring section in this video. Oh, man. Okay, well, only my Facebook humans are going to be able to see and click that link. So maybe you can go, please head on over to FMA Source on YouTube and share with us that link, because I do want to see it. Speaking of trajectory changes, definitely watch these guys dealing with flails. Yes. Max Wang. Punching and elbowing the tonfa is more intuitive. I feel if you go more in a boxing structure with the tonfa, the defense would be more effective. We are going. Good point. Good point. We are going to get into that. And already Sifu Mark has already noted that, I noted from my observation of him that you need to have good, solid striking fundamentals to even begin to think about using the tonfa. And by the way, we're not going to use the tonfa for self-defense, but we're going to use it for sparring, right? We're going to, because I don't know. I don't want to get all negative, but I love the aesthetics of a lot of these traditional Japanese weapons, but it's very difficult to find the use of them in open sparring formats. And I think this is where the Filipino martial arts can come in and welcome the entire community of weapons-based arts, to include HEMA, to include the Japanese and the Chinese arts, to, hey, let's spar, let's maybe for a moment in time make way for resistance and some more honest testing methodologies, right? Like, we're not in feudal Japan, right? Like, it's cool. We can do this. Let's get back to the video. I love this stuff, man. I'm gonna get to the rest of your comments in just a bit. Let's keep watching.
I'm gonna try to tag you.
This one is defending snappy near side strikes. So if you're watching, I was just about to point with my finger. You guys can't see me pointing at my screen. But one of my favorite strikes, one of my favorite preemptive strikes, is just like a snap strike to their far side, or sorry, to the near side. Near side could be weapon side if they're fighting weapon side forward, but near side is just the side that's closest to you, and you're sort of tapping that shoulder. So here's what Sifu Mark was able to come up with as far as that. But the drill is the drill. I just try to hit him. What's he doing? What are you seeing? What are you seeing? Boom.
But here I can.
Boom. What you're seeing is basically immediate counters again. But that defense for the near side snap strike is actually quite intuitive. You're going to want to lean into it. You're going to want to turn your body that way. By the way, what I forgot to mention, you guys, is that there's mentions of Kevin Seaman in here, some JKD trapping stuff, also Balintawak, right? So the purpose of doing these kinds of experimentations, you guys, is just, for me anyway, it's an exercise of creative problem solving. And whether you use tonfa or your fist, there are slivers of bridges between martial arts systems, disciplines, schools, and sometimes those bridges may be quite small, but I think in exchange for the small opportunity to transfer those skills, you're going to be working on your attributes, and you're going to be enriching your study with variety, which means you won't get bored. And if you're like me, it's quite easy to get bored. Like, I'm boring myself right now. Let's keep watching.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This is the nature of this. I need to pull the distance. Why the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna stay where you have room.
I mean, don't let him pull the trigger on this big one, because then you might be.
Well,
That's right.
I have to cause a bisect.
Sorry, guys. What I meant by that is don't let him pull the trigger on the big one. Is that you know that angle one is going to come, and so you can wait for it to come, or you can actually elicit its trigger just by moving forward or doing something. It's preloaded. It's gonna come at you. Let's keep watching.
I'm gonna try to tag you.
I know we already seen this, but it's worth seeing again. Just gonna lower down the volume. Combination striking. This is gonna lead somewhere, right? You can see, depending on my trajectory change. Sometimes he needs to move a lot, which could be very problematic once we increase the speed, right? Combination striking in Filipino martial arts, these are some common ones. right here. But again, the point isn't to stay in these defensive zones, but at some point to flip the script and get offensive. This is just a drill. Boom. All right, we're going to move on from this video straight away. This was interesting.
Talking about backing up and then flicking, right? Yeah.
Striking off the break. Again, this is a concept in Muay Thai and boxing, in practically in any striking art that allows clinch. Oh, I almost get hit by a wall. Right? This striking off the break, punishing somebody for even a clinch attempt. That's interesting, right?
So that's my game. I begin to associate that.
Oh man, you guys! Shout out to my homie Kai Javier, who loves to kick. So one of the things that I came to the realization of that Sifu Mark already knew is a great way to effectively use the tonfa is to further corrupt your opponent's perception of range. And kicking is a great way to layer onto that philosophy. Already the tonfa can be oriented in such a way where it increases and decreases in range just by a flip. By the way, I learned how to do an angle one with a tonfa. I was completely wrong. I thought it was going to be like super vulnerable, but it's not. There's a particular way to throw an angle one with a tonfa that is pretty devastating, actually. I just thought that if you tried to do a power angle one, that you're just going to drop the whole thing. Again, I was wrong. I thought tonfa was gay. It's not. And again, no offense. I've been using that term ever since I was a kid, which is no excuse whatsoever. Why am I trying to justify it? Here it is. It's just mid-range tonfa using kicks to corrupt opponent's range perception.
Yeah, boom.
Okay, watch the range. Pop. Boom. So go back with me. Imagine I pushed you. Yeah, that's my range. Would be considered like attack by draw. So if you had your stick, pop, boom, whack, whack, I just want to be fucking lazy. Yeah, right back.
You just love the way he talks, man. He's just so direct. Whoa, look at that kick. Oh my god. All right, we're gonna pause this. Oh, you guys are gonna love the Hubad section. You guys gonna, hey, by the way, yo, JKD Combative Sciences. All right, just take a moment, just insert it into your memory. JKD Combative Sciences. You can look that shit up on Instagram, on Facebook. You can look it up on the web, but just do it. Just see what this guy's all about. I already know, and he's a great training partner. Let me tell you. Oh, what the heck is this? My socks, mouse. Yeah, I mean, every time I talk about tonfa, I mean, every time, like recently, just in the last couple of days, you're like, "Hey, have you heard of my socks?" I fought a guy single stick versus my sock at a Dog Brothers Tribal, and now I want a pair now. Yeah, man. I want my socks. Non-crispy socks. Okay. Fucking such an idiot. Why do you guys watch me? Okay, here it is. Tonfa. Using Hubad. Using Hubad to create angles and openings with a tonfa. Very beautiful work here.
Oh, Hubad is this? Hubad on the off the two after the one.
That was slick, yo.
Off the two.
I mean, I know it's a drill, but still. Boom. I already knew some of you guys were thinking what Sifu Mark just showed there is that when you use the tonfa for Hubad, or even when you're empty hand with Hubad, yeah, those passes, those parries can be strikes too. I mean, that I don't know about that one. That was a little much. It might be difficult. I hate foot sweeps. I hate them.
because it squares you up.
Yo, who's down with foot sweeps these days? I've done a couple, but they were by accident. But foot sweeps suck, and that's why I say I'm not down with it. They suck, man. I mean, they suck when they're done to you. I don't mean that they suck, like don't do them. I think they're absolutely amazing.
You up and that cross sits you down. You're going to be trying to back up again for range, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if we're backing up for range, I can catch that maybe to just stifle you. If you see me that number one, there's here and here. But then Joe will reach further back. He'll hit and then he'll hit again.
Joe, he's talking about Guru Joe Apostol, who is, I believe, level 6, if I'm not mistaken, in Tabuada Balintawak. But you can see, like, we're just kind of bridging known concepts, and we're finding new ways to manifest these same principles. And no, maybe it's not so practical to be, doing that with tonfas and nunchucks and fans and crap like that. But again, why not? People talk about training prioritization as if, we really don't have that much time. I mean, truly, there's room for exploration and fun, is there not? There should always be, in my opinion.
If you see me that number one, there's here and here. But then Joe will reach further back. He'll hit and then he'll hit again. And it's more of like the lean. Oh, yeah. Here. And doing that same turn.
Yeah, I think this is a great training method for, like I said, for stick.
Boom.
So I want to know where your brain is at with like.
I don't want to guess all this. I know where you're gonna hit. Yeah. I'm just gonna keep it close.
Boom. I don't know if you guys heard that, but when I brought up the idea of using tonfas to defend against floretes and redondos, Sifu Mark was like, I don't want to chase all that. And that's a good way of looking at it.
Brain is that with like.
I don't want to guess all this. I know where you're gonna hit. Yeah. I'm just gonna keep it close.
And then yeah, I think
that guy. That's why I'm saying the peekaboo.
I think there's something to this triangle shape almost.
Deflection.
Yeah, it covers a wide range. But even if you were to just stay exactly where you were, the damage you could take, even if it touches you, it's not a lot. It's gonna take some. Like it doesn't really.
Then you have the good thing, right?
Because even for all this fancy,
just keep it up.
Even you know what I mean.
And then what I touch, I hit.
Right. It's a very small opening for my angle one to get to. I wonder what happens if.
No, I would want to.
That's it. That's the defect. But for everything.
Yeah.
When you can't guess.
No, because look, one side's lower than the other. I would rather keep it here
like this.
By the way, I love that high cover. People have all sorts of high covers, and I think Defense Lab built an entire system built on like the high cover. And my personal opinion on that is that I don't need 100 different high cover variations. I actually just have one high cover. I'd like to share it with you. It looks like this. It looks like that, right? Or some variation of that. But I don't feel the need to have to switch and do all sorts of this for me. There is a good conversation to be had about whether I'm actually trapping this hand, right? Whenever people see a still shot of these kinds of guards, they're like, oh, but you're trapping this hand, but you're not really, Anyway, yeah, that's my oh shit block. And that's what I was getting to in this part of the video. And part of the reason why I want the oh shit stuff is because I don't have the training, the experience, the knowledge, or the skill that Sifu Mark has. So I'm constantly, whenever I'm presented with something new, I'm constantly looking to align it or make it congruent with the things that I already do and the things that I already am and the things that I already know come out of me. And perhaps some things that come out naturally, like I know that martial arts training is sometimes meant to circumvent our natural reactions. Like I think Brazilian jiu-jitsu and jiu-jitsu as a whole is an entire practice based on doing unnatural things to get favorable outcomes in specific contexts, right? So maybe turtling up and protecting our vitals is the natural thing to do, but that is a liability when you're in a ground fighting match, especially against somebody who's trained, right? So that's what I mean when I say that martial arts training can sometimes be a practice of circumventing our natural tendencies. Of course, the opposing philosophy is that good martial arts training ought to reinforce what humans are naturally built to do in defensive situations. There are truths to both sides, but just to put this in context, is exactly what I was trying to get to in this conversation with Sifu Mark. And from his perspective, he's maintaining that, you know, you shouldn't just necessarily just have one because of this and that. And again, that is a byproduct of just him having more experience and more comfort in these kinds of things. For me, I'm always looking at, you can call it a shortcut. You can definitely call it a shortcut. You can call it a hack. You can call it whatever you want, but just it's appropriate for me. Somebody who came into the martial arts really, really late. I mean, I've always loved martial arts, but I came into it late, and I don't have the luxury of training every one of these things from the beginning, from the ground up, from the very start. And so I'm in the practice of being a principle-based learner so that I can absolutely take concepts from capoeira, JKD, Muay Thai, yoga, Tai Chi, whatever. And in this case, tonfa. So I'm not going to start my tonfa training with whoo, ha, ha, like whatever the classical karate method of tonfa training might be. I'm not saying that doesn't have value. It just has very little value for me and my path. And I think that a lot of people are in my shoes, right? Like they want to learn a little bit of everything. But the danger is that, you know, I might be categorized or deemed as somebody who just like wants all the good shit, the cool shit right away without paying their dues. So that's not the case. At least I don't feel like it. I do like cool shit though. All right, let's keep watching, yeah? And then I'm going to get to all of your comments.
Straight down the line, I would. Because depending on strength and weight of the stick,
Yeah,
you're going to get through.
You're right.
So I'll reinforce that. Yeah. That's it. Exactly. All right. Boom.
How is this as a cover-up?
No, because there's too much open here.
See, he's illustrating
Just slightly, it's like you're pairing it with your forearm.
the vulnerability of having a coverall. So
No,
now we're
I'm
working
only
on
going
thrusts.
back. I'm only dropping that low one on back here. When it's going to the leg.
Shout out to my karate people.
I said this is a very natural thing for when somebody strikes low. I don't know why.
It is. Because it's faster with that.
You'll notice there that I mentioned that doing this, which is essentially the karate low block, outside block, is very natural. It's very, very natural. But again, if you're going to do that to a blade, not such a great thing, right? But again, to frame this conversation in context, I'm trying to look for the coverall, the easy path, the shortcut, and Sifu Mark is like, hold on a second. You got to watch out for thrusts. You got to think about stick density and weight and speed and intensity. And again, I'm willing to learn all of these things through sparring. But I do appreciate the fact that we're able to have this dynamic, right? We're able to have like good conversations about, hey, I just need to know what I can learn today, right now, and what I can begin to explore in sparring. And he's giving me bits and pieces of other considerations downstream. So I think that's a very healthy conversation to have. Unfortunately, you know, it's very healthy to have those conversations, but with somebody you don't know online, it just sounds like more dick measuring. But in person, right, they're actually very great conversations to have as long as you bring the right energy and approach. So here it is again. Or here's more of it.
Because depending on strength and weight of the stick,
Yeah,
you're going to get through.
You're right.
So I'll reinforce that. Yeah. That's it. Exactly. All right. Boom.
How is this as a cover-up?
No, because there's too much open here. Just slightly, it's like you're pairing it with your forearm.
This guy's like a gangster Sifu. I love
I'm
it.
only dropping that low one back here. When it's going to the legs, start going.
Boom.
I said this is a very natural thing for when somebody strikes low. I don't know why.
It is. Because they're faster with their hands, right? So that's why the karate block there can be practical. Pop, and that's it. That's it.
That's really good for stick defense.
Like I said, man, I like the style of it because you can really sit into that peekaboo or that Muay Thai guard and box somebody and kick them and still feel like it's not inhibiting. But with that tonfa, man, you got that little spin.
And then we got a little bit playful with it. Tonfa with nunchucks for real skis. So again, let me frame this, right? When I first thought of the idea, I was like, I think that would be cool. And then when I held it in my hand, I'm like, wait a minute, there's something to this. Like the tonfa plays on your instinctive, natural defenses for high lines, which is just to do that. And then the nunchuck in your power side dominant hand smashes with angle ones. So that combination is actually very, very, very intuitive. It's a sword and shield. It's a jab cross. It's a parry cross. It's just fundamentally a common tactic. So yeah, tonfa with nunchucks on paper sounds kind of hokey. But again, if we are to acknowledge and not completely dismiss that there are even tiny slivers of bridges that may be able to transfer tiny particles of value from one practice to another, for the exchange of having an enriched variety of training methods and having fun, go for it. Hopefully you don't have a time machine where you got to go fight in feudal Japan in a couple of days. Then you might want to take your training a little bit more in the direction of specificity. But right now, general training, man, that is the shit. And I think Filipino martial arts is an amazing catalyst, is an amazing engine to drive generalized training. Because while it does hold specific tenets and principles, it's like this piece of code that developers can write on top of and develop their own versions of that code. This is why I love the Filipino martial arts so much, guys. And I think this is why you guys love the Filipino martial arts too, right? This is why you love Jeet Kune Do as well. And you know what's funny about that? The FMA and the JKD community, at least online, it's full of argumentation, isn't it? And it almost makes sense. If you can only find a way to have more civilized discussions about our differences, then I think we could really get somewhere. But I think the nature of the fact, or by virtue of the fact, that it is kind of proposed this openness of exploration, you are actually generating as a byproduct a lot of disagreement, and therefore a lot of potential heartache and disappointment. But if we can get past that, if we can boudoir it, then we're getting somewhere, right? Then we're getting somewhere. So let's watch tonfa with nunchucks and let's check out some of the drills that we were able to do. Man, I keep going on tangents. Let me go on another one before I show more tonfa and nunchucks. Guys, create your own drills. Okay, creating drills isn't in the sole domain of Tuhon's grandmasters, datus, gurus. No, that's absolutely false. The most valuable way, and perhaps the most compelling reason to create your own drills, is if you have a really firm grasp of who you are as a fighter. Not to say that you won't be able to change, or not as a fighter, as a martial artist, right? And if you put yourself in, honest environments where you're tested, we're talking about pressure testing, we're talking about a little bit of sparring, and you film those moments, then you have on your phone a really amazing diagnostic tool to see your weaknesses and deficiencies. And when you can identify where you've sucked, you can certainly create your own drills so that you can suck less. And that's all that is. That's all it is. So creating drills isn't in the sole domain of masters. You can create a drill. You can create hundreds of drills today if you know who you are and if you can be honest with your deficiencies. Now, if you're already a perfect escrimador, then there's no sense, right? You just do whatever everyone else has taught you. All right, here it is.
Power shot. Hey. Oh yeah, okay. Here. Oh, 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 oh.
All right. So for the most part, what you saw there was just a variation of a 1-for-1 drill, really. I think you guys are familiar with what 1-for-1 drills are. I go, he goes, I go, back and forth. And then through that practice, progressively, or just in fleeting moments of time, we were able to break that, right? You'll notice sometimes he does 2 hits. Or I do a fake and then a strike. But that's just a very simple drill to begin with. By the way, that's a Muay Thai pad on my left hand. And that was really just, I'm trying to feed Sifu Mark here. But really, if you watch his ability to be able to recover from those strikes, it's nothing like, quote, fancy, but it definitely requires some skill to be able to recover that nunchuck back into a loaded striking position after it makes contact with something. And again, I love nunchuck forms. I love how they look in movies and stuff. But the biggest challenge, in my estimation, is how do you recover it from after having missed something, having hit something, or having snagged onto something, and having that weapon ready to fire again. So while this may look rudimentary, I think it requires an extraordinary amount of skill. Like, he just launched like a Superman angle 1 strike, and in no time he was able to recover it and make it a valid striking tool again, right? Using that oblique kick as a bridge. Really cool. All right, here's that knife flow I was talking to you guys about at the beginning of the video. This is just our process video. It starts with jab cross, hook cross, right? Common combination, and then boom. And I think when he developed this, I don't know if he was thinking about it as a to include knife draws, but Sifu Mark knew that I have this knife draw in my repertoire. So I don't know if he just included that on the spot, but I think that's dope if he did. So now we're getting into the trapping segment of this flow drill. It's super dope. I really like it.
And then as I go to punch, you're gonna lock. And as you go to punch me, I go to lock.
Oh, this is where he mentions Sifu Kevin Seaman.
There's a drill Kevin Seaman used to show us.
It is.
There's a drill Kevin Seaman used to show us.
Shout out Kevin Seaman.
And then as I go to punch, you're gonna lock. And as you go to punch me, I go to lock. So as you hook my hand to slash, when you pull back, as you go to slash my face, I turn and get this.
Jab, cross, hook, cross, deploy, hook, slash, grab.
Straight up and then stab.
That way?
Yeah. So from here.
This is process stuff, you guys. Okay, I'm trying to figure it out. This is my first time doing this.
As you pull, and I try to get that hip extension here. It's not fucking complicated. But it's a nice little way to get that lifting and clearing and that trapping in there, right?
Lifting and clearing.
Here, now turn your body and try to catch this.
Sorry guys, I know it's dark. You can't see every detail here.
I'm just gonna push this out.
So even if I let go, it's okay.
If you let go.
I mean, the principle of this is really using your own joints and stacking bone structure in order to create leverage points in the clinch. So I'm sure you guys can figure that out.
Put your shoulder into me. Feel that pressure. Keep it on flow, right?
And even just to flow from there.
Yeah.
I really like this.
Okay, this is the cool part. I said, and even just to flow from there, because there is a pattern to this flow drill. But if you guys know me, If you know any bit of me and my philosophy with a knife, I believe completely in using very, very simple drill patterns in order to facilitate flow downstream. Really, like things like Sabayan and Col de Mama and Sombrada and Puño Mano drills from FCS Kali and Sobrada drills from practically all Filipino martial arts. They are very, very actual. Simple patterns once you get to it that facilitate a flow. I consider it really like as a meeting point or a common language, right? In terms of what a meeting point is, it's like it's a structure, it's a place, a moment in time that we both recognize what that is and what we do under that condition. And so when we have a solid meeting place or that common language, then we're able to break away free and far from the constraints of pattern and be able to go into a free flow. And when that free flow gets a little bit too hectic, energy gets a little bit too difficult to manage, then we can go back to the meeting place. We can revert back to the common language, settle us back into the flow, and then we can begin to re-explore from there. Right. So in this moment, after Sifu Mark taught me the initial stages of his flow, I said, oh, cool, because we can even flow from here. And the moment I said it, we just did it. And it's just a small little flow, but it wasn't what he taught downstream of the initial stages of the flow. And again, it's just knowing who you are, right? So here, watch.
From there.
Yeah.
I really like this.
Put your shoulder into me. Feel that pressure. You can get it on flow, right?
And even just the flow from there.
Yeah.
I really like this though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See that little flow right there?
Maybe
That little flow right there was just literally flow. That wasn't what he was necessarily teaching, but in line with the principles of what he was teaching.
maybe jab. And
now using this flow, you guys, for folding knife deployment, strong side pocket side carry. There's no real cool way of doing it. You know, the way most people carry their pocket knives, the right side of their body, with that pocket clip, right? There's no like, even if you had, you know, a deployment assist, I don't know. I've had great successes with them, but it's still kind of like, oh, I just want to make positive contact with the handle and the blade and then open it properly. So here you can see in our exploration, we're talking about, well, he's talking about killing space, right? Keeping sticky, keeping on. And I'm thinking about creating space to facilitate that deployment. And again, these perspectives are fluid. It's all contextual. But this is just the foundation that we had this discussion from. I'm like, I want to create a bit of distance. And he's like, you know, but he's a strong clinch player, you know. Another thing about creating distance to deploy a knife is that you're going to have to navigate again through closing that distance, whether by something that you do or something that they do. If it's a clash, if it's a conflict, the nature of conflict goes this way, right? Otherwise, it's de-escalation, or you're about to shoot them all. Effa. All right. There it is, you guys. Well, that was kind of dope. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. It was a deconstruction of a boudoir training session. The boudoir really, I mean, it's my garage dojo, but I think it's transcended that. The boudoir is the people, are the people that are in it, that choose to participate in and embody the philosophy of creative problem solving, really, of not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, not absolutely dismissing, not being absolutely certain, keeping a healthy dose of skepticism with a willingness to try it out, right? So I'm sure so many of you guys are already Boudoir members at heart, and we welcome you to the community. And thank you for watching. I'm going to get to some of the comments. Keep the comments coming, guys. By the way, I really appreciate it. Sifu Mark's in the house. We already got to Max Wang. Sander Noel. Okay. Let's see what he says. Almost as if they forget that you're not trapping your hand in a Kimura or double wrist lock either. You're just posting your lead hand on the frame of the other hand, which connects to the head structure. Sometimes these comments kind of make sense, but they make way more sense in the context of what you're replying to. So sometimes when I get to them late, they're kind of out of context already. But if I get what you're trying to say, almost as if they forget that you're not trapping your hand in a Kimura. Maybe you're talking about commonalities, and that some people dismiss Jeet Kune Do trapping as being ineffective or useless, but then it manifests practically in every art, right? You can't dismiss trapping, just like you can't dismiss foot sweeps, whether they're incidental, accidental, or purposeful. They do something. They do something. Lex Chrysostomo, shout out Pinakatai system. Beautiful fluid trajectory changes in closer ranges. Super important to learn. Love it. Everyday tools are a great way to expand on what's actually useful. Yeah, absolutely. And plus, they're everyday tools. They're literally everyday tools. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to spend money to, to swing a mug or a frying pan. Max Wang, coolest name in the world. I've always said JKD teaches you how to think. FMA teaches you how to learn. Interesting, Mr. Wang. I mean, they're both great. And I think arguably you can reverse those things. You can say JKD teaches you how to learn and FMA teaches you how to think. They both work. They're interchangeable, I think. A solid groundwork in both can make you adaptable in all arts. Yeah, I believe that. I believe that. A JKD or FMA. But if we're gonna praise its potential, we have to acknowledge the potential of pitfalls, right? Also, it's true. It's true, because if you study just FMA and that's what you begin to study and that's all you ever study, I hate to say it, you guys, there is a very, I gotta be careful about my frigging words because I love Filipino martial arts so much. Okay. What I'm trying to say is, if all you ever studied was FMA and that's all you ever did for your whole entire life, and you were caught up in a system and you just studied FMA through the lens and framework of one system, the possibility of you having really crappy empty-handed striking is pretty high. There's a high likelihood that you can't punch if all you study is one brand of FMA and that's all you studied. I know, you guys. I know there's always going to be exceptions to the rule, right? There's always going to be that, a couple of FMA guys who never took boxing or Muay Thai or karate or anything like that and just have hands. Like, they can throw down. But we have to acknowledge it. We have to acknowledge the fact that, there's a potential for you to be a terrible striker if all you ever study was FMA. All right. I hope that wasn't too bad. It wasn't too painful. Yeah, God, I love FMA. The last thing I want to do is to present it in a negative light, but at the same time, by shining artificial light on something, could be healthy, right? When you shine an only artificial light on a plant, that plant can still grow, obviously. But you want that natural light, yeah, right? You want that honesty, and the honest truth is, as it currently stands, it's possible, highly possible, that if all you did was FMA, that you may not be such a good puncher. But I don't want to end the friggin' podcast in such a negative thing, man. Can we get some positive? FMA is a fantastic art, and going back to what we said at the beginning, right? It's a catalyst for exploration. It welcomes influence, right? For the most part, it welcomes influence. And I know the purists out there are going to want me to say, but we can still preserve our history, our culture, our art. We can still be preservationists to some degree and evolutionists to another degree. So that's really important. But for the most part, both Jeet Kune Do and the Filipino martial arts are vessels for throwing as much input as you like in there, and then filtering it through a certain philosophy, mentality, or perspective. And that's really, what I believe people really enjoy about the Filipino martial arts and JKD, right? Howdy, Ezekiel. How are you, my man? Ezekiel Sutherland. See, that sounds like a fake name. That sounds like somebody tried to make like a cool superhero name. Hey, what's your name? Ezekiel Sutherland. It's like Max Payne or, Optimus Prime. Another fake name like Max Wang. Max, love what you're doing for martial arts overall, not just FMA. Stay martially woke. Kablamo. Yeah, man. Martially woke. Oh, God. I don't know about being woke. But yeah, okay, I'm down. I'll be the martial arts gluten-free vegan activist. Save the turtles. No, but I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. I didn't I appreciate it very much. Thank you. I can't take compliments, man. What the frig? Sifu Mark Medeiros. Through movement and understanding mechanics, you should be able to adapt and transfer that into anything. This will also help discover the essence of dynamics of the chosen tool. That is how creativity is born, I feel, for me anyway. So let me deconstruct that. Creativity is born through the exploration of movement and the understanding of mechanics. When we apply that understanding to other things, that is kind of profound. That's kind of cool. I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm an improviser. Like, not just by. I was in high school. I was part of an improv team. We won the Canadian Nationals in a big auditorium, crowd and all that stuff. So I'm really big on improv. Improv is a way of life for me. Improvisation is the same side of the coin, if not. I don't know what I'm trying to say. But what I'm saying is creative problem solving and improvisation go hand in hand. And I think if I understand what Sifu Mark is trying to say, is that you can actually create opportunities to improvise and to be creative by understanding the fundamental mechanics of one thing and trying to apply that to something else that's unfamiliar. So with that, I completely agree with that. You know what I mean? I completely agree with that. 100%, right? If you're a musician, try painting, try acting, vice versa, and all around, right? And if you're a martial artist, try skateboarding, try dancing, right? When you understand the mechanics of things, and I'm talking mechanics philosophically here, but when you understand the essence of something, you can begin to deconstruct it and apply it onto other things and see how that works out. It's not always going to work out, but I think the process is freaking amazing, isn't it, guys? Isn't it? Holla if you feel me. Old man still can. One thing we used to do, and I'm sure Datu still does, is exploring the modern Arnis stick años, was to explore the form with different weapons. Yeah, I know he does that. And I think he was the first person to lead me onto the idea that working the bow staff has some bridges to boxing, to punching. I can't explain it, but I saw it, and I remember when I first heard it, and he gave those examples. I was like, oh yeah, pretty close. Ezekiel Sutherland, it's real. You're Scottish. In Scotland, we get a new type of karate. It's called "fuck you." You guys know? You guys know where that's from? I think that is from Mike Myers in the movie So I Married an Axe Murderer, which was a box office flop, I think. Yeah. It's like, in Scotland, we get a new type of karate. It's called "fuck you." Anyways, that's been FMA Source. You guys, I hope you enjoyed that. If you watch us on Facebook, please visit us on YouTube. FMA Source. I believe the channel name is Paula Rubio, which is my real name. There's some Google thing I need to sort out. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I really appreciate you guys. And yeah, we're building a pretty dope community out here. And the message is being bounced off and fed back to me that we are just a bunch of creative explorers. We are creators, you guys. We are creators. So thank you for creating the FMA landscape that we want to live in and that we want the future to live in. And thank you very much for joining FMA. So you know what I forgot, man? Like I downloaded a whole bunch of these things. Like you know, where it's like I say something awesome, like be water, my friend. I don't know, stuff like that, or if I say something like, "Do you guys want to know the truth about Big GD Tersha?"
You can't handle the truth.
I just get into the flow and I forget that I made the effort to dump all these clips so that I can have a more entertaining show for you guys. But I think
we need to launch a full federal investigation into why and how this happened. Who allowed this?
Thank you for watching FMA Source, you guys. Okay, one more. What do you think of shadow boxing for training? I think it's amazing. Two sides to this coin. Sometimes they butt heads. I don't think they do. And we're talking about shadow boxing, Carenza, yada, yada, yada. Two sides. One is artistic self-expression, where you don't need to imagine an enemy in order to execute the movements, to work on your form and your technique. All right. You're just creatively exploring, right? And then the other side of that is that you are working on technique and mechanics under the imaginary, visualized context of an opponent. I think both ways are totally cool, and I think they're extremely, extremely valuable. And I think the science and the data support visualization as a learning and retention tool. So keep shadow boxing. Keep locked on FMA Source, guys. Thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you so much for your comments and your likes and your shares and all that, because it lets YouTube algorithm know that we are into Filipino martial arts, and they will, by virtue of their algorithm, seek like-minded people so that we can continue to fortify our community. Thank you guys very much for everything. My name is Gian, and I am delaying so that I can put my balut background back and say my goodbyes for now. Thank you, guys.
fuck out of bed, bitch. Go.